Hello, everyone, and Madayaw. Welcome to my channel. It's me, Teacher Maita. How are you guys? Today, or in this video, we are going to be tackling body proportions. So one of the things that I teach in class, grade 12, is actually anatomy for artists. It comes with the subject personal and professional development in the arts. Don't know why that's the title, but this is one part of that subject. Now, I'm going to show you how to sketch basic body proportions. So let me share my screen. So as artists, it is very important that we know anatomy. All artists have to go through this. I don't know about now, but back in when I was still studying, we all went through this. Everyone I know as an artist went through anatomy for artists or basic sketching, the human body. Why? Because if you are a visual artist, yes, you need that training. But even in performing arts, you need this training. My college course is actually fashion designing. You need this training. You know why? Because you're going to be sketching a lot of humans and you're going to be sewing clothes. You need to know where they bend, where the muscle placement is, especially when it flexes. You need to know skeletal system, which part is longer, where in the knee does it bend, what is the anatomical way to do this, to see this, to make this, to cut this, because it will all make an impact. This is basics. So if your school does not offer this, I hope you guys listen up and benefit from this training. There are a lot of other videos out there, and I encourage you to watch all of those because that's what I did. You know, these type of channels only came about in the last decade. It's really, really helpful. I cannot express how helpful it is. So when we are studying, we are going to be tackling biology. So if there are those who are not comfortable in talking about the biology of humans, yeah, you could skip this video. We're going to be tackling the difference in male and female proportions. So this is a picture that I got from Pixabay. There's a male and female. This is not accurate because the skeleton is outside and the muscles is inside. But this is just something that will show you what is different. There are differences. So we're going to tackle them here. All right. So I have here one male and one female that I have resized so they would fit into this grid line or these line placements. They are proportional to our heads. So in arts, we talk about 8 heads proportion, 7 heads proportion, 9 heads proportions. That is because everything in the anatomy will depend on the size of your head. So a good way to see this is ask a friend, relative, somebody to take a front view of you. Make sure there's no angle. If it can be done like from midpoint straight. Now take that picture, print it, and do these lines. And you will see how many lines proportion you will fall into. Most females fall under 7.5 heads. Most Asians fall under 7.5 heads. Caucasians generally fall under 8 heads, especially males, and there are some females who do fall under the 8 heads. A lot of the models that we see on the runway fall on the 8 heads category. Now, if you are a short person, chances are you are in the 7 heads proportion. Okay, so these proportions that I will show you, we will tackle the difference as well. Because even if you don't see the difference outright in the appearance, there is a lot of difference, especially when we start to sketch muscles and skeleton. So let's start with a skeleton. The skeleton is is actually what helps us keep upright, gives us our posture. You'll know where you're going to bend. So you see where your elbows, shoulders, knees, hip joints are through your skeleton. And there are differences in human proportions, namely shoulder width. So this is the male skeleton and this is the female skeleton. If you watch a lot of CSI or medical detectives and then they see some bones that have been there for a while, based on the bones, they can tell the age and gender of a person. Of course, I think now you're not allowed to say gender. Whatever, male or female, they can see that in the skeleton. So shoulder width. Males will have longer shoulders. Females will have shorter shoulders. There are some females who have longer shoulders. Mana sa tatay. Next, rib cage. Rib cage will be also something different. You will see some rib cages that are circular because you're female and the male is flat. It's wide and flat. Females is more circular. It's smaller but circular. That is because we have to accommodate for a baby. Whether you choose to give birth or not, our biology dictates that there's space for that. Okay, so next would be the pelvic shape. This is important. This is one of those indicators. One glance from the pelvis, it automatically tells the CSI or the medical detectives if you're male or female. Now, for male anatomy, it is flat and sort of like a butterfly shape. And for the female, it's a little different. You could see that it's like bowl shape here. See, it's like a basket shape. Again, it is to accommodate a child, a growing baby in you, a growing fetus that would grow somewhere here and it will come right down here unless you have a C-section. So yeah. Now, next is the shape of the kneecaps. That's actually also a very good indicator of male or female. Girls, we have very dainty kneecaps. Guys have big and chunky kneecaps. I won't go into the shape of the leg bones because if you can like look carefully, we have more delicate bones and males will have thicker bones. Okay. Next is the feet, or lastly, it's the feet. Males have wider and bigger feet versus the females who have narrower feet. Okay, so I have here also from Pixabay 2 models. So this guy's tall. He actually fits in the 8.5 heads proportion. And this female without her heels actually falls under the 8 heads proportion. So let's sketch. Now, everyone get a sketch pad or scratch paper, pencil, eraser, and ruler. We are gonna sketch. First, I need you to draw 9 equidistant lines. You can use a ruler and do like 1-inch equidistant line from each other. Make sure they are all the same. There would be 9 lines there. We are going to be drawing the 8 heads proportion. So this is the basics when you are doing anatomy for artists. We usually start with the 8 heads, and then we have different exercises for the 7, 7.5, and then 9, 9.5. And you know, we even tried the 10, 10.5, and 13 heads. So the 13 heads is very stylized. There's no human in this planet who's 13 heads. All right, so now we have 9 lines, but we have only 8 spaces in between them. Okay, so you can go ahead and put a number if you want. This number is just a guide. Okay, this guide will help you place where things are. So let's start with this oval egg-shaped head. This is your head. So it has to touch the top of the line and your chin has to touch the tip of the second line. Okay, so in this space, that's the first head. By the way, these numbers actually count how many heads there are, because everything will depend on the head proportion. Unless we're tackling haberdashery, in that case, everything is dependent on the bust size. There's, whoa, calculations for haberdashery. Let's not get into that yet. Let's go with this one. This is just your basic head's proportion, okay? All right. Next is these circles. Now, you're just going to do an approximation of this. These are like half a head big for your shoulder. Then for your elbow, it touches the end of the third, or should we say the fourth line. And then your wrist should be just below this fifth line. Okay, so you could just draw this. This person will be just standing straight. Now, after you have this, we're going to connect this and this, and then we're going to make a trapezoid like this. Now, this is your torso. Your navel should be in the middle of the fourth space. See, your navel should be around here. It's not exactly there, but it should be around there. Okay, so right below that would be the hips. So your hips is another trapeze, but it's going to be a lot wider. See, so we're drawing a girl proportion, and girls have big hips. So here you go. That's the hips. Then we're going to do more circles. So under the seventh line, which is the sixth space, this is your knees. And in the halfway point of the eighth space would be the ankles. All right. Now we're going to fill it in. Let me show you how it fills up. Now you have this. These are your guides. There's my human person. So then I will smoothen out the face. The face, by the way, is in a separate video, so I hope you check that out. So I'm going to slope it because the shoulder, as you can see, is quite rounded. Your elbow here rotates. That's why I put a circle, because it rotates. So does your wrist. Okay, so this is your torso. So your breast level should be here, just below that. For some people, especially those who have very big breasts, they might fall under this line. So it's like halfway there. It's quite big. Your navel should be around this area. And your wrist, or the palms of your hand when you're straight down, should be where your crotch area is. Okay, so your fingertips would end somewhere between your crotch area and your knees. So it should be that midway point. Okay, so there we go. I've erased the guidelines, and this is your human person or human drawing. Now, what happens if we're going to put a person here? Okay, so I got this picture of a model also from Pixabay. This is her head. Note her shoulder. It's a little tilted. She's a little tilted. So you could see basically where the shoulders are, and her elbows are raised. But if it isn't, it would be somewhere here. Her navel area is somewhere here, and her crotch area would be somewhere here. So her knees and then her ankles. So she actually, if without the heel, she actually falls under the 7.5 heads category. It's just that she's wearing heels. That's why she falls under the 8 heads category. All right, let's get somebody else. This is a 3D rendition of a person, also from Pixabay. So she also follows the same proportions, except her crotch is a little on the higher side, which makes her legs a little too long. So for anatomically proportioned human being, her crotch should be around this area. Okay, let's get another one. So I have another model also from Pixabay. She actually also falls under the 7.5 heads proportion if she didn't wear heels. So same, she falls under that category. See the shoulder, the elbow would touch here if she was, her arms were straight down, and there she is. Now let's go to the male heads proportion. So let's go to male 8 heads. Again, you can do the 9 equidistant lines, the same as we did in the females. You can number it. Now we will go back to how we did the first few steps, which is first your head, which is represented by this egg, and then shoulder, elbow, wrist. So the circle that goes smaller and smaller. Same thing, we draw a line between the shoulder and make that torso, that trapezoid torso and navel. Then you have your hips. So a man's hips isn't actually very full. It is quite flat. I will show you how it's drawn later. Okay, so same thing, knees, ankle. Okay, now we're going to fill it in. Here is filling it up. Your shoulder is actually bigger and bolder compared to a female's. Okay, so this is going to get not as curved as females. If you're not gonna draw them muscular, it's gonna taper, so it's gonna be thinner. There won't be any muscles. It's just gonna be straight. And then same, the knees, the ankles, the wrists, the elbows. So that is your male proportion. Okay, so I'm gonna show you other examples. Okay. So this is from Anatomy 360. It's also numbered 1 to 8. This is an 8 heads male proportion. This is a 3D scan of a human man. So they've scanned him 360 degrees and they put him here in a 3D rendition. This is what we're studying. So you can see this is an actual human being put in 3D. Okay, so same thing. The tip of his hand should be where your hips, between your hips and your knees should be. So that is correct. So this is another person. He is clothed. He is a little on the chunkier side compared to the other guy. Also same. See, shoulders, elbows, wrists, knees, ankles. I hope you enjoyed that and learned something about the proportions and anatomy of male and female 8 heads and a little bit of 7.5 heads proportion. Now, don't be afraid if you feel like I don't fall into that proportion. Everybody has a little bit different. You're going to be an inch or two taller than somebody else. You're going to be, your navel is not exactly there. Your wrist isn't exactly there. Yes, because we as humans are different each. These are just guides, especially when we draw. A lot of people will fall into this category, but that doesn't mean it's 100% everybody that falls into this category. We learn this as artists. When you start doing portrait art, you will see everyone's a little different. And those differences actually makes the person unique. So, if you're doing anatomy for artists, sketching, my suggestion is to practice, practice, practice. That's what my anatomy teacher made me do. There are days when I was at the brink of tears. Actually, no, I was already in tears. But I did appreciate her training. And I appreciated that she did not give up on me. I had a plate, because in art class, what we submit are called plates. I had a plate grade of 85. Yeah, it passed, but she made me do it. She made me redo and redo until I got 87 up to 90. She didn't stop. I wasted so much paper then, but I was grateful that she did not give up on me. And so there you go. Don't stop. Don't give up on yourselves. Artists, you can do this. There are some things an AI cannot do, and that is the heart of an artist. Alrighty, so Madayaw everyone, and I hope you like and follow me for more content. See you again soon. Bye.